Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to Petty Talks TV. This is your talk show where we talk about pets. We talk about dogs and cats and all sorts of animals that you'd want to take care of. Today, our topic is about stray cats, how to control them. Have you ever experienced a night when you'd have to wake up because cats are so noisy, trying to mate, and then they run over your roof and then they topple your garbage the following day, you find them on the floor, and then you accidentally step on cat poop. Such a nuisance, right? So stick around because we have invited somebody from PAWS to teach us and tell us tricks and ways by which we can control such potential community problems. So we are live on Facebook and YouTube and now also on LinkedIn on the first and third Saturday of the month at 5 p.m. So if you have any questions, please join us in the conversation by typing on the comment section of your chosen platform. My name is Tita Mee, shortcut for Tita Meow because I love cats. But it doesn't mean, like I said, we don't just talk about cats, we talk about dogs. And for that, we have a very special person with us all the time. He's our anchor resource person. He's actually a certified dog trainer from the IPDTA-Canada and also affiliated with other foreign groups. He's currently helping out many barangays and communities and dog associations here in the country. He's also an author of 3 books, and he is also a Guinness Book World Record holder for having the biggest dog photo shoot a couple of years ago. So I'd like you to welcome a good friend of mine, a father and good family man, Coach O. Yes, Coach O. Coach O.
Hello, Tita Mee. How are you?
Hi, how are you today, Coach? Oh, yes. I know our topic, like if people you just tuned in right now, our topic is about stray cats, and we have a special guest from PAWS. But before we dive into that, Coach, tell us a little something about our pet lover subscribers and viewers today, Coach. I know what's the latest in the pet kingdom, in the dog kingdom. Any
Well,
projects? And yeah, tell us, share with us.
yeah, sure. At the moment, I'm working with Quezon City. So I think if you've been watching or not reading some articles, inquirers of Mayor Bubitin, Mayor Belmonte has this project, transforming these stray cats, no, stray dogs, or rescued
Okay.
dogs into service dogs. So I'm heading that project, the technical part. So nag-train ako ng mga trainers o handlers how to
Okay.
train these stray animals. Yun. That's the
Mm,
latest, and it's really hot.
very it keeps you busy, no? Ang ingat siguro because you have to train. I think do you train in an open space or because
Yes,
I
open
understand you
space.
train
Madalas.
people. Okay. When you train people, coach, just a quick question, no, for those waiting about our topic today, which is about cats. Just a quick question. When you train people, do they have to bring their dogs with them? Or it's all theoretical?
No, no, no. In the first meeting, we usually first or two meetings, it's all theoretical. But on the
Okay.
third and so maybe around 6 weeks, six sessions more.
Hmm.
That would be a hands-on training with their dogs. Yeah.
Okay, so if there are people out there who want to avail of your services, communities or barangays who, like buildings, probably in condos, they might, of course, they have spaces there and they probably want their dogs and their pets to be trained. You're open to that naman, coach, di ba?
Yeah,
Ibenta na
sure.
kita,
Yeah.
coach.
Why not? Pero if you're a resident of Quezon City, we're offering this community education for free. So just contact
Wow.
the city vet office.
Okay.
So you can have a
That's
community education right in your barangay. But if
that's a
you're
mm.
from someplace else, then you can just contact me directly through my website. That's planetsmell.com. So I hold seminars for
planetsmell.com.
that.
Okay, we will post that later, no, for those that are interested. But for now, what they can do is probably send a message on the comment section of our live stream. Okay, so let's go straight into our topic for
Yes,
today. And
please.
this
Yes.
is,
Mhm.
yes, this is about controlling stray cats in your community. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier, we have invited a special guest, and she's actually a computer engineering graduate with a master's degree in education. You know, she was a software engineer for one of the leading retail companies in the country. All right. And then but at 2015, she volunteered at the Philippine Animal Welfare Society, which is what we know as PAWS. And then shortly after, she became a full-time employee. Imagine from software engineer to a full-time employee, you know. And currently, Sharon is the Education and Campaigns Officer of PAWS, or like I said, the Philippine Animal Welfare Society. And she also assists their executive director in their different programs, and she attends meetings to improve animal welfare laws and attend court hearings for cases that the organization has filed against animal offenders. Kakatakot yun, ha? She also directly handles the Kabalikat TNR program of PAWS. She is fur mom to 17 dogs and 5 cats, most of whom were adopted from PAWS. Please welcome our special guest for today to talk to us about controlling stray cats in your community. Welcome, Miss Sharon Bengzon-Yap. Hello,
Hi, good
Sharon.
afternoon.
Hello, Sharon.
Yes,
Good
nice
afternoon.
to
Nice to meet
finally.
you, Coach. And
Hi,
I'm
Yes,
from
Sharon.
Quezon City, so
Okay, pwede.
baka naman po.
Pwedeng pwede.
baka naman, pwedeng-pwede. Okay, Sharon, I know that you have a lot of information for our guests, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. Mangunguna na ako dyan to ask questions, so we'll leave the floor with you. Friends, let's all welcome Sharon Yap.
Hi. Thank you po. So first, just some statistics as of 2019. We actually have 12 million strays in the Philippines, and most of them are actually cats. Because cats actually reproduce 4 times a year. And so if you have one female cat that is unspayed, it can reproduce 16 cats in a year. So that's the reason why it's very exponential for cats to actually their population to grow. Now, people have problems with strays. So first is, of course, public health and sanitation concerns. They can be a cause, they can be a source of disease, from rabies to mange, to transmissible venereal disease. And people are actually concerned. And then we also have, of course, the public health, the scavenging from the garbage, which is another public health and sanitation concern. And then if they chase after people, joggers, delivery people, bicycles, and motorcycles, it may cause accidents not only to the animals but also to the humans. And of course, traffic obstruction. Some of them you'll see them feeding their young on the street, giving birth on the streets, and then, as mentioned earlier, mating in the middle of the streets, or sometimes even in the middle of the night. And then, of course, we have animal control facilities. Under the Anti-Rabies Act, there is a need for animal control. And then this was created, the animal control facilities, or the city pounds, were created specifically to handle the stray community problem. And it's nice thing to hear that Coach O is actually heading the training, but these are usually for dogs. And the sad part is cats are oftentimes neglected or overlooked when it comes to the Anti-Rabies Act. So next, we have also they also face dangers. So it's not us only humans that are concerned, but it's also a concern for us humans with the dangers that these animals actually face. So first is, of course, starvation. Um, we all see animals getting hungry, and most of us have a soft spot for them, and we try to feed them. And next, we have the disease. Since no one is taking care of them, we see them just getting sick on the streets. And then, of course, vehicular accidents, and then cruelty and abuse. Since no one is taking care of them, people sometimes think that it's okay to just hurt them because no one will be speaking up for them. And then these are some of the solutions that we try to make. Try Humans try to make. So band-aid solutions, which means this is not long term, and it's actually contributing to the problem. So stray feeding, of course, the city pound would eventually round them up, and feeding should be done in preparation to have them spayed and neutered and adopted out by concerned citizens. And if you feed, you will actually attract more strays in the community. And if there's no plan to adopt or to have them fixed, in the interim, they will increase, and the city pound would then be again called, and they would just be rounded up. So most feeders and most rescuers, they come to us, to PAWS and other animal welfare groups, to take in the animals that they are feeding. But mostly, the shelters is full. Similar to the animal control facilities, they are always full at the moment also. And then band-aid solutions, rescue them from death row. This is not feasible, as the animal welfare organizations, we have found out that most city pounds take in 200 to 3,000 animals per month per city. And if you just rescue them from the death row, it sends the wrong message to irresponsible pet owners who will allow their animals to just roam the streets because someone will get them, or will rescue them. And it cultivates the thinking that dogs or cats or any other animals that you take in as a pet, it gives us a mindset that they are disposable because the city pound or animal welfare organizations would just take them in. Again, another band-aid solution is community shelters, wherein people would rescue without having them spayed and neutered. They have no permits. And then location of the area. Sometimes these are usually in the residential areas, which actually gets the complaint of your neighbors. And since animals are kept in poor conditions, they usually die. And again, these community shelters would just turn to the animal control facilities or animal welfare organizations for help. So there was also a proposal to stop animal control services or stop the impounding. This is not also feasible because neighborhoods usually call the city pounds or the animal control facilities or officers to collect stray dogs in their areas because they become a nuisance or a concern. And then impounding is actually legal under the RA 9482 or the Anti-Rabies Act. There is also a clamor for no-kill pounds or no-kill shelters. The problem is why this is not feasible. What would happen if there is a sick animal or an injured animals? Because most pounds were built not for long-term treatment, but for short-term only. We have to bear in mind that the city pounds, they keep the animals there for 3 to 5 days, depending on their city ordinance, and they have to euthanize them or to dispose of them to make space for incoming animals. So what would happen if the cages are too crowded? Because we have to accept the fact that not all people are ready to claim their pets when they are impounded, and not all people are ready to adopt from seat pounds, specifically if these are aspins or the puspins. Also, the budgets of the city pounds do not include medication and treatment for multiple dogs, only for food at a limited time. Under the implementing rules and regulations, to be able to have a city pound, they are just required to feed them once a day. That's how little their budget is. So this is why PAWS is actually proposing the Kapon for all pets. So this is the best solution that we can have, having been an organization since 1954. We have learned our lessons very well, and we know that the only solution to the stray problem is Kapon, or having them spayed and neutered. So what is spay and neutering or kapon? So spay and neutering is actually a surgery done by a veterinarian, not just a veterinarian, but a veterinarian that is competent in spay and neuter. Because like human doctors, not all human doctors can be surgeons. Similar to veterinarians, not all vets can be surgeons as well. So spay is the removal of the ovaries of the female animal, and neutering is the removal of the testicles of the male animal so that they will not reproduce. So benefits of having an animal spayed. So this is not only for stray animals, but you can also have your pets spayed and neutered. So it reduces the chances for breast cancer, uterine infections, pyometra for females, and testicular cancer for males. And of course, they are not stressed out because there is no more heat cycles, and you will observe that there are positive behavioral changes, which would result to them being happier and well adjusted with their temperaments. And then no more urge to find a mate. So your pets will not try to go out of your home and try to look for a mate. So they will not stray anymore. So they will not leave the house. And of course, it reduces or eliminate the habit of spraying and marking specifically for the male animals, as well as dog fights and cat fights among the males. And then for the community, it reduces the number of unwanted pets in your community, which will decrease the number of homeless and starving animals, bite incidents, and of course, the euthanasia. So if we are really advocating for strays, we should not contribute to the narrative that will tell people that the status quo is okay. It's not okay to have strays. It's not okay for them to be impounded and to be euthanized. And then if we are advocating for strays, it means that we have to show irresponsible pet owners the euthanasia figures. We should not hide this because they should be informed of the consequences of being a responsible pet owner. We should not hide the euthanasia figures. We should not condemn euthanasia or the lack of euthanasia in pounds. They should be made aware of what the causes or what are the aftermath of them being an irresponsible owner is. And of course, spay and neuter for TNR communities. This is what we're really advocating. And just an example of improper TNRs that some well-meaning groups or volunteer groups are doing. First is you have to have a census to show the effectivity of the TNR program that you are doing. How can you say that your TNR that you are doing in a community is successful if, to begin with, you do not know the number of cats that have been affected? And again, keeping them out of sight. They're safer that way based on all the criminal charges that PAWS has filed against animal offenders. One thing is common: the cats are very friendly. So they should be kept out of sight. And of course, we should not tame them. If we are not ready to adopt them or to give them a home, let us not tame them to keep them safe. And of course, we have to take into consideration other members of the community. Some members may not even like cats, so we have to have a managed feeding system. We cannot just feed them anywhere. We just have to feed them out of sight, specifically very early in the morning, so that they will just sleep all day For the people who have cats, you know that they actually sleep around 16 hours a day. So if you feed them very early in the morning, the rest of the day they will be out of your sight, and then would just go out at night. And then this is very perfect because the rodents and other pests are also nocturnal animals. So they would go out at night. So basically, community cats can be effective pest control. They're even cheaper than the pest control companies that you would try to actually employ. And then community cat intervention, it does not mean that we have to treat them as outdoor pets. There is no such thing as an outdoor pet. They are still considered as strays once they're outdoors. And then advocating for strays is not saving them from death or starvation. It means that you do, as part of the community, you help them to be integrated into the community, for them to not be treated as a nuisance by your community. I always say that it's actually easy to train the cats for the feeding station, the feeding areas, the time of when they should go out to feed, and the time they should go out to hunt. Sometimes it's us humans who are very difficult to train. So if we are advocating for strays, we have to make sure that we come up with systems that would enable them, the stray animals, specifically the cats, to live with the rest of the population without being a nuisance to the public and without endangering public health. And of course, if we are advocating for strays, we have to make sure that we end pet homelessness through the strategies that strikes the very source of the problem, which is them not being spayed and neutered, and them being still able to reproduce. So we have to partner, as seen in the photos, we have partnered with several communities, local government units, to ensure and to offer spay and neutering to their constituents. So how can you help? First is, of course, have your pets spayed and neutered. Encourage your family and friends to spay and neuter their pets, and spread the word of having spay and neutering, and encourage the local government units to adopt the Kapon for All Pets program that PAWS has. So that's it for the presentation. Thank you so much. So if you have any questions, I think we have it later. And then you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter and IG under the PAWS Philippines handle. Thank you.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much, Sharon. I learned a lot again from you because this is, Coach, this is not the first time I really sat down to listen to Sharon, because I was part of, she invited me to sit down as a guest in one of a company, because there's a company that they were helping, because the company had so many stray cats, and she invited me to listen, and there's really a lot that I picked up from that session with by listening to Sharon. But before we go to the questions on the comments, there are people that ask questions from me, and siguro they don't wanna post, nahihiya. So I put them in our comment section, no, in our chat box. So let me see. Okay. Yan. So there's a question here. Isn't neutering animals cruel? Cruel. Kasi like as a pet owner before, I think I mentioned this in one of the sessions we had. We what do you call this? In our family, we feel like neutering the pet is like what do you call that? What's the term? It's like depriving the animal of enjoying enjoying life. So what both you coach and Sharon, what do you say about that? Why are you very sure that neutering, for those that are doubtful about this, that are still having second thoughts about having their pets neutered, why are you so sure that this is a good thing? Because you mentioned it, di ba? Like, but tell us your personal take on this neutering thing? Because I'm asked a lot by some friends, if will I have my dog neutered, So what's your advice on the personal level, coach, sa dogs, on dogs?
Baka magkaiba kami ng sagot. Hindi naman.
Hindi, personal
You
naman eh.
know, personal. But no, but before I answer that, kasi we pa excited, ano pa, while Sharon was speaking about this ang tawag to? Ito to Spain sa neutering. So parang may nag-pop sa mind ko, no? So if we do this really 100% kapuning, kapuning
Yeah,
or
kapunin.
aren't we almost para bang trying to extinct para bang in-extinct mo na yung mga aso at mga pusa? But I think sinagot din naman yung isip ko. Kaya hindi ko natatanungin. So, hindi naman mangyayari. Para pupunta lang sa extreme na ganong sagot, okay, ang ating mga advocates, to address that rather exponential growth ng mga pusa, especially mga cats, okay? Well, on the personal level, ask me really, ako tatanungin mo, no? Personally, I wouldn't want my dogs or we have one stray cat na adopted, I wouldn't have them neutered or spayed. Okay, personally, okay, yan ang take ko. Just as how I am strong and firm against family planning and all that. Anim ba naman anak, That's a personal, personal ko lang yan opinion. But I have nothing against this campaign on neutering and what's this, spay. More on ako sa kasi sa nature na binigay ni God sa atin. I'm coming from that angle. Kasi binigay ni God yan, they are created to reproduce. But then again, on the practical side, which is also a part of humans, di ba? Utos naman ni God that we are to manage the animals na, have to make some controls. Yan.
Okay.
So, I think Sharon will have a better answer and a mas clear na answer for us.
Thank you for being honest with what you feel. Pero like in your case, I understand, coach, that maybe for pet owners like you that are responsible, and like even if you have a cat, you don't just let them go out and mate with whoever. Diba? So maybe, yeah, to your point, no, there could be some justification for your no justification. There could be some justification for your choice. But let us hear from Sharon, really what the benefits. So, yan, you see Sharon that Coach O is actually, he's a certified dog trainer, no, from other countries actually. But he has his personal take on neutering. So I'd like to hear from you, uh, because this is really an issue, especially when it comes to stray cats. Is this really the only solution to stop them from multiplying? I mean, if you were to, sasabihin na naman ni Coach, ang dami kong tanong. If you were to, if you
Dami
were
nga.
to level, to make it simple, if you were to level the importance of neutering and spaying cats, uh, to prevent or to minimize stray cats, what percentage are you going to give that from a scale of 1 to 10? From a scale of 1 to 10, Miss Sharon, how important is it, based on your experience, how important is it to help to prevent stray cats from exploding in our faces?
Yes.
10 being the highest, how important
Yes.
is it?
Yeah, for us, of course, as I've been with PAWS since 2015, prior to 2015, I actually didn't also know about spay and neutering. And then it's a 10 for me based on all the experiences that I've seen from everything. Because some people would tend to humanize animals. So there was also some people saying na tinatanggalan nga ng pagkalalaki yung mga animals. But we have to take into consideration that for them, mating is an instinct. It doesn't have any. It's not like us humans that it involves love. It involves procreating. But the problem is if they're not controlled, it's actually more cruel to see animals dying of starvation, healthy
Mm.
animals being euthanized in city pounds because
Oh,
people
yeah.
actually fail to take care of them. I'm talking about irresponsible pet owners. As you've mentioned, there are responsible pet owners, but in the long run, if you are a rescuer, you take in stray animals and then you don't have them spayed and neutered. Based on experience, we have seen several people coming to us trying to actually surrender the animals that they have rescued because on their personal capacity they can no longer take in these animals that they have rescued. So they started
Mm.
with one or two animals, then they failed to have them spayed and neutered, and now they have actually around 70. So what POS did with that particular rescuer, we just helped her by actually giving her animals free spay and neuter. Is one of our outreach. And then on a personal experience with spay and neutering, um when I entered POS, I already had a 6-year-old dog. um he was actually a gift from my husband before we were even married. So he was the engagement present to me. So 1 year after
Sweet.
we got married, I noticed that every time a female in the house is in heat, he wouldn't eat. All he wanted to do was to mate. And at that time, he was already 8 years old. So every time a female is in heat inside the house, I would have to bring him to the veterinarian para because he was not eating. So he would have IV on him. That's
Wow.
actually every 6 months because a female dog comes into heat at around every 6 months. So um aside from being very costly, him being a senior dog at 8 years old, it's if he doesn't eat for one day, it's very detrimental to his health. So that's when I decided at 8 years old for him to be neutered. We had all the precautions done because he was senior dog. Blood testing was done, and now my problem with him is that he's overweight. He's now 14 years old. So no major problems. I haven't brought him to the vet after having him neutered. So he's healthier, I would say, but every time I have him checked by the vet, he's overweight. So since he's a senior dog, we have to maintain his weight because of arthritis and all the other problems that comes with being a senior. So that's the reason why, on a personal note, I am for spay and neutering of pets.
So wow, that's really a revelation, no? That you have a story behind that you learned it from your own experience. I never, like listening to what you said, Sharon. It's nice that you're able to show me and the audience the big picture of every little thing we do. Like, cause like me, like my cat before, I didn't want him to be sad, like this and that, but. Uh, I never realized until today that when we do not contribute to the control of stray cats population, we are actually potentially causing other cats to be killed, to be euthanized. So it's a chain reaction. So I appreciate that today. I appreciated that today. I learned that today that, we become a contributor when we don't do what you suggest. Okay, but each to his own, no? So what's important is you're responsible. And last time we had a guest. Actually, if you remember, Coach O, si Jeannie, di ba? She gave us questions to ask to ponder on before picking up a cat. Like there were tips that she gave. You have to decide if you have the finances and all of that. Because some people, they just pick up the cat because it's so cute, kawawa. Before they know it, like you said, they have 7 cats, 8 cats, and then they don't know what to do with it anymore. So we
Yeah.
have time for there are several more questions, but maybe we can just take one
Leslie,
more.
may question
Yes,
lang ako.
please. Go,
Okay.
coach. Please.
Binanggit mo si ano eh, what's her name?
Jeannie,
Si Jeannie and the other, meron pa
si
kaming guest
Chi.
na Sharon eh. Oh yeah. So these guests in the past two episodes namin, they are also, they have this rescue, they have their shelters, diba? And I think you call them like short term or maybe band-aid solutions, parang ganun. And parang mention mo sa kanila, you mentioned something like may mga disadvantage ito, mga ganito. If are they sustainable or what, parang ganun. So, if there are some people pa na, they have their heart, not everybody can be a part of PAWS or other NGOs pa, no? So, what can you advise them para maging sustainable, okay? And yeah, a simple question. Siguro kasi baka iba baka natatakot din magsimula kasi hindi rin naman nila sustain. So, wag na lang ako mag-start. Okay? Pero meron silang puso na to rescue these cats. Parang gano'n. So, Sharon, please.
Of course po, for example, if you are a rescuer, you have to take into consideration or check the city ordinances in your community. Because there are some communities that have a pet limit. So if you
Nahihilo
are
na ako
in a
ah.
residential,
Sorry.
so
Nahihilo ang ginagawa sa screen.
yes.
Go ahead,
So
sorry,
if you
sorry.
are, yes po, no problem po. So if you are in a residential area, you'd have to take that into consideration because if you have a lot of cats, they will smell. And your neighbors might actually call the city pound on you. And then if you don't have them spayed and neutered also, they will increase in number. As mentioned earlier, if you start with one male cat and one female cat, and if you have failed to have them spayed and neutered, they can actually reproduce 16 cats in a year. So you'll end up with 18. Not to mention po that the first batch of cats that you had or kittens that you had can now reproduce also after 5 or 6 months. So this is the reason why cats are very exponential in increase. So the best is if you are a rescuer, know the law. We have the Animal Welfare Act, we have the Anti-Rabies Act, and research also in your community. Your community may have their own ordinances with regards to pet limit, and of course, think of yourself and your family also. How long can you have them? If, for example, like what happened, you had a pandemic, we had a pandemic, so there were a lot, we received a lot of emails, a lot of calls from people who lost their jobs but are rescuers because they have a number of animals that they can no longer take care of. So you have to look into the future as well, and think of your family, and then of your animals as well.
Okay, Sharon, thank you. Follow-up question on that. So, for example, those rescuers in the pandemic, no, siguro in 2020 and even last year, they called, tapos sabi nila, hindi na namin kaya. So, does PAWS accept the these animals or what? Paano yun kaya?
No po.
Okay.
Most the animals are at the shelter. 95% of them were rescued from cruelty and neglect, wherein we
Okay.
actually filed criminal charge. So parang they are the evidences to the court cases that they have. So what we did to help them out was to have their rescued animals spayed and neutered, and then we got some donations from a company also of dog food and cat food. So we provided them with dog and cat food as well. So that's the
Mm.
best thing that we can do to help them out, to have the rescued animals spayed and neutered.
Thank you. Okay, Tita Mee, patahimik na muna
Okay,
ako.
I just want
Thank
to
you,
ask,
Sharon.
thank you, Sharon. I just want to ask Sharon before we wrap up. What because I remember you mentioned that you can actually help out a community, but there's a corresponding donation of food. Can you tell us about the program? Because we are thinking of people that will also watch the replay. How does POS come in terms of helping the community or the barangay?
Good. We have several programs po. First is the Kabalikat program, which you were able to attend. So it's a partnership between POS and the community, wherein we would be spay and neutering the cats in the community, and they would be the maintained colony. So that's one of our projects. And then another project that we have is the Kapon Outreach. We partner with the local government unit, and then they would be donating some materials because it's very expensive. Yung Zolitil, this is the anesthetic that we use. It's human grade, so it's very expensive po. So the local government unit would sponsor the medications needed, and POS would be providing the manpower for spay and neuter outreach in the community. Now, the latest program that we have is the Kapon for All. It's a three-way partnership because in an outreach, we average about 100 to 120 pets per day. And we just do this once a month. So we do acknowledge that uh, there's there's more clamor from pet owners to avail of low cost spay and neuter surgeries, because in private vets it would cost you around 5,000 to as much as 10 to 15,000 per pet. So the Kapwan for All program for of POS is a three-way partnership wherein POS will be partnering with the local government unit, and then the local government unit would be giving incentives to private veterinarians who would be giving at least 10 free spay and neuters a month. So that way the pet owners would have the capacity to have their pets spayed and neutered. So it's a three-way partnership. We already had one LGU to partner with us, so we're very happy. You can just follow us on our Facebook and Instagram accounts to know more about the Kapwan for All program of course.
That's very generous of boss, no? And I know this will take another conversation, but I'm just so curious from being what was your master in education, and then you're suddenly now really into this animal welfare. Can you still take one more quick question?
Yes, no problem.
Yeah. Wait. Let me share this. No, is it really bad to feed stray cats? What a pity. Yeah, because you mentioned that because like personally in our village or outside, it's a common sight for us to see kittens, cute kittens, and then they seem hungry, and then you feed them. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, it's not bad as it is, but the problem is if you do not manage the feeding of these cats, you would notice that after 3 or 5 months, you'll be feeding more cats. Cats will be coming in. Also, neighbors would also be complaining because the cats would be lurking in your neighborhood, and then of course accidents do happen if there are stray cats. So what we are saying is if you are going to feed, make sure that it's for them to be ready to have them spayed and neutered in preparation of having them spayed and neutered. And then feed um, feed not on the public places, because there have been several communities, as you have seen in the photos earlier, that have actually called the city pounds because of um, cats jumping on the alfresco areas of the restaurants, cats jumping onto people. And for a person who may not like cats or may not be aware of the temperament of the cats, they may think that the jumping of the cats is actually the cats attacking them. So people might think that these cats are already rabid. So feeding is not feeding is not prohibited. It's not bad, but the way we feed them. So as mentioned, we have to discipline the cats to go out on certain times only. And of course, we have to feed them away from areas wherein there is very high foot traffic of humans, so that they will not be along the corridors, they will not be along the side roads wherein people pass. And of course,
Mm.
to clean up when you're after feeding, you have to clean up. Do not allow the food, the remaining food, to just stay there and rot there. So you have to clean up after. Be responsible feeders.
Last, super, super, super last. Because I also know, and I want the audience to know, when you feed cats, in relation to pooping, one of the complaints, no, in the village, when you feed cats, what's the relationship, the distance, like, is there any tip you can give? Like, let's say, like, we practice that. There's a stray cat, and then you want to feed it in a corner. You're responsible, feed it only at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. And then, what was that you shared to me the other day about where they end up littering or pooping? Can you
Usually, yes.
educate?
Usually, they would try to find an area wherein they can cover up their poop and their things. So, if beside you is a nice garden of your neighbor, usually they would walk a few steps because cats are very tamad. We call them tamad. They would just walk a few steps and then do their things there. So if you would be noticing, if you have your own cats, their feeding station, and then a few steps, you have your kitty litter set up there. That's how tamad they are of walking. So it's best to find a feeding station in your community wherein there's a vacant lot for them to stay there and do their things there. Again, feed them out of sight, and then as much as possible in areas wherein there's no people or vacant lots.
Okay, that's a very good tip, no, for those that are not ready to go all the way with your programs. But then, ladies and gentlemen, we can always called PAWS so that we can partner with them to control stray cats in our community rather than calling the city pound. No, it's a new thing also that I learned, that when there's so many stray cats, don't call the city pound, or else they're gonna be euthanized in 3 days. You said 3 or 5 days, which is
It
really
actually
sad.
depends on the city ordinance. So usually it's between 3 to 5 days.
Okay, so Coach, do you have any more questions for Sharon? You're muted,
Sharon.
Coach.
Oh, sandali lang.
Okay na. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. One last question for Sharon. And,
Yung susunod, coach, may bayad na daw, ah.
may bayad na
Kasi,
ako, sige.
Libreng training
Charge,
po yung bayad.
pwede naman. Otherwise, charge mo lang kay Tita Mee. Okay, diba, PAWS and other NGOs have been in the, sabihin na lang, in the country lang muna, okay? For more than what? More than 50 decades, 50 years, maybe even more pa, no? Pero sabihin na natin in the last 20 years. So, we've been doing this program, yun na nga yung spaying and neutering, which I actually support. Tinanong mo kasi ako ng opinion kayo. That's my personal opinion. Pero I support that program. Pero bakit kaya parang it's really a lifelong problem in the society. What's keeping the Filipinos, being so, you have this education program, pero parang ang Pilipino parang hindi pa rin educated on these matters. I think, kasi sa akin, Tita May, I have always believed in the power of education. No amount of rabies vaccination, it's only education that can really, solve this problem of strays, whether they are cats, dogs, or kahit ano pang animals yan. So, may question, Sharon, bakit kaya, ano kaya ang problema ng Pinoy na lang, sa Pilipinas na lang tayo? Ano kaya ang problema sa Pilipino at hindi natutunan ng Pilipino yung ganito itinuturo kahit pa ulit-ulit tayo?
Coach
So
Openis, that's a Miss Universe question. Ah.
Oh, yes. And I thank you. Gumano ka mamaya. Thanks.
yes po. Um, we have to accept the fact that there are a lot of areas just that we still haven't reached. And of course, spay and neutering is expensive. That's why we keep on developing programs. We started only with the TNR, and then we have developed several programs for us to be able to reach more people, because as mentioned, we are just an NGO. We only have 10 staff members at the shelter. So it's very difficult. And because of the pandemic and the mobility problems, and the Philippines being an archipelago and a group of islands, it's very difficult for us to reach these provinces, and to educate them more about spay and neutering. And also, since the Animal Welfare Act was only passed in the late 80s, or early 90s, so animal welfare here in the Philippines is just in its early or teenage stages as compared to animal welfare laws in other countries, which they have already in place as early as the 1800s. So we
Wow.
believe that we are getting there, baby steps, but it's the reason why we have this. Or we are thankful to people like you who help us promote our education campaigns, and we are very helpful of internet and all the social medias that we have right now, because it enables us to reach more people and to educate more people.
And I
And I
thank you.
thank
Walang
you.
ganon.
You know what? Ayokong pakawalan si Sharon. Parang ang dami ko pang gustong tanong. We'll have another session because Coach, there's really a lot.
Ay, marami.
We can dissect her presentation into several
Yeah.
sessions. So,
May talent
um,
fee na po ito, ha? Cat
Kaya-kaya
food
niyan.
po ang kailangan namin na talent fee. We
sige,
actually have almost 200 cats at the shelter. So we're in need of cat
wow.
food po. And old newspapers, because in
Oh,
the quarantine
newspaper.
area, yes, in the quarantine area, they have separate cages, because since they are in quarantine, we cannot put them in the common areas because they lack vaccination, they're still sick, so we have a quarantine protocol. So we line up their cages with old newspapers, not just any
Okay.
paper po, kasi their urine and the stuff would just slide off if it's not the newspaper type of paper that we use.
Okay. So, sadly, newspapers are not as plenty as they were, no? But maybe we can help you. We'll do a newspaper drive, like we
Yes,
used to
please.
long before, no? Let's help you. Let's help PAWS, no, Coach? We can do that as soon as kasi we have plans here for Petty Talks to really go to the villages, to the communities, and really reach out to them face to face. So we can always tie up with you, knowing your needs and knowing what you do. So with that, we'd like to really give you a big virtual thank you and handshake, Miss Sharon, and we would like to invite you. And at this point, Coach, have we have exceeded the time again, and we hope to see our audience next week. So thank you so much, Sharon and Coach O. Do you have any summarizing? Manasang kilay. Si Coach O.
Bibigla mo na naman ako, ah.
Ayan. Coach O,
Kasi
what is your
my
one-liner?
take, my
Yeah, what's your
one-liner,
take?
sige,
Yeah, when
I'd
you
like to,
sleep tonight, anong iisipin mo about today's session? Mabilis
yung
lang.
neutering. Well,
Neutering.
yeah. Yes, really, ano tawag dito, sobrang dito lang sa amin, sa village na. Alam mo ba, tinatanong mo ko kanina, why,
Hmm.
kamusta ako, or what, pagod ako. Kasi this morning, hindi this morning, this afternoon, I brought Gab for his last
Okay.
shot ng rabies. Kasi,
Mm-mm.
meron kaming stray cat na inampun dito sa bahay. And then he decided na dalhin namin sa vet kasi may mga sugat. Dinala namin sa vet. So sa village. Pagdating sa vet, nagwala siya. So sa
Oh.
pagwawala niya ngayon, nakagat niya ngayon si Gab.
Si Gab.
Out of
Okay.
takot. Oh. Siyempre, to be sure, di kinonsult namin. So, dinala namin siya. So, last month pa nangyari to, but today na, was his last shot ng kanyang
Okay.
tetanus
So,
vaccine. So,
you didn't put
yun.
the cat in a cage when you brought him?
Hindi namin naisip kasi hindi naman talaga namin kinikation siya.
Cage.
Dinala namin sa kotse, pagbaba doon, yung nariguro, naamoy niya na yung amoy ng mga veterinary clinic. Nagwala na.
Yeah, ganun talaga.
Oo.
Yeah.
Grabe
It happened to
talaga.
me. With
Oo.
my cat before, coach, si Basket, no? Very tame kasi siya. So, pagdating, when you put him sa kotse, tapos when I was gonna bring him down to the vet the first time, wala pa rin akong cage nun, talagang siksik siya sa ilalim ng car. So, takot sila takot. So, I'm glad that, I hope hindi naman na-traumatize si Gab, no? Sa
Hindi
cat.
naman.
Because
Pero
cats are
actually,
really,
hindi man. Nakita ko sa kanya, napaka-genuine yung kanyang pagmamahal sa hayop. Kasi
wow,
stray
how
cat lang
nice.
yun. Bukod sa stray cat,
Oo.
yung madumi, yung ano, kaya nga dinala namin sa vet eh. Tapos nung
Mhm.
kinagat siya, di ba? Kung yung mga typical ng teenager, pag nakagat,
Ako
sisipain
na.
niya, magagalit, magiging hater na. Pero siya hindi. Sina-justify niya pa, hindi kasi kinagat niya ako kasi ganito, ganyan eh. Samantala ako, stress na stress. Tawag doon. Siyempre, gastos.
Oo.
Sige, sensitive po kami
You remember
nagpabakuna.
sabi ni Chi, nagkukwentuhan na tayo dito. Last
Oo nga,
time, you remember
nag-meet na
sabi
tayo,
ni
no?
Chi, ang dami na niyang kagat. Even, di ba
Ah,
si Chi yung mga
ah,
nagre-rescue? So, that's all part. So, nandito pa si Sharon sa backstage, but we have to end already. So, ladies and gentlemen, friends, we thank you again for joining us. For those of you watching the replay later on, please type in your questions in the comment section if there's any topic you want us to discuss. So, if you did enjoy our topic today, like and follow us on Facebook and subscribe to Coach O,
our
your line.
YouTube channel. O, diba? Yan ang galing-galing
Okay,
na doon.
ladies, friends, thank you so much. God bless
Salamat
you
po.
all.
God
Bye-bye.
bless. Bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye, Tita Mee.
Bye-bye. Okay.